Hello, I'm Troy Flint, Director of Public Relations for the Oakland Unified School District, and you're watching Inside OUSD. We have a dynamic individual in Christopher Chatmon who not only has the passion, but has a plan to work with the community and forge solutions that are going to improve results for African American males and result in a better and stronger social and learning environment for students throughout the OUSD, regardless of race or background.
My mom graduated from Castlemont High School, class of 1959. I've lived all of my adult life in Oakland. I have 3 sons in Oakland Public Schools, Edna Brewer and Crocker Highlands Elementary School. I've been on the board of Oakland Babe Ruth for 6 years and started youth baseball program, co-founded a youth baseball program that serves the needs of many different boys, but predominantly black and brown boys. I was the executive director of the YMCA's, Eastlake YMCA, M. Robinson Baker YMCA, and the Teen Center from '98 to 2008. I was a case manager for Big Brothers Big Sisters in the 80s, back in the day, and so I really value mentorship. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for other brothers and positive people in my life that didn't allow me to give up. My wife, this is really a family affair in this movement, is also the executive director of an educational nonprofit. We both came into this work as teachers in the mid-90s, and we're servants to the community. Sure, so my strategy for really hitting the following outcomes: increasing attendance rates for African American males, decreasing incarceration rates, decreasing suspension rates, and decreasing the achievement gap, really is to take this community model and align all of us within a community context to come up with a strategic plan that is very intentional on uplifting, engaging, empowering, and educating black boys from as early as kindergarten all the way through they matriculate through 12th grade. And so with that, we're going to identify agencies at every level that have effective best practices and share that. So now we're not trying to reinvent the wheel in one school or one community, but we can share those best practices throughout the system and replicate that. I think the other strategy is to engage as many people as possible. I think, as this focus is on African American males, really everybody has a role to play in this. And when you look at any strategy that targets the bottom percentile of folk, and in this case, as it relates to the academic achievement, the holistic development of black boys, if we're targeted as a community of Oakland on changing those outcomes and uplifting black males specifically, it's going to impact all children. And so, the strategy is to engage, engage everybody, identify best practices, and then effectively communicate that throughout all of these schools in Oakland internally, and then externally, all of the folks in the community. So we're aligned with how we support children from kindergarten all the way through. What has to be different? I mean, I think we as a people have become desensitized to the travesties, to the inequities that our children face, now have faced for generations. And so failure is no longer an option. The fact that we still have an elder like Oscar Wright, who took the district and the state to task on the inequities facing black children then, and we're still not much further. I feel now it's all about all of us humbly aligning in such a way that we did in the 60s, but not meeting the need, not achieving isn't an option. So I feel that and I think the other thing is this: there are schools and there are areas nationally that are figuring it out. And I think if we can, again, identify the best practices and those folks who've figured it out from a community standpoint here in Oakland, from a school-based standpoint and a classroom standpoint here in Oakland, and come together humbly we will change the trajectory, not just of black boys, but of all of our children. And I think Oakland is on to something. The fact that 6 years in a row that our standardized test scores continue to improve says that we're on. Yes, we have a lot to work to do, but we're continuing to do the necessary steps to increase the achievement of all children. And so with that, the fact that from a systemic level that we called out the elephant in the room, and it wasn't predicated on a lawsuit, it was predicated on, wow, like this is a population that for a few generations now we have struggled with, and we're going to create the space where this position can then align with both folk internal to the school district and external to create systemic change. I don't think we've ever been, at least within this school system, afforded even that opportunity. And so I'm optimistic. I'm very assured that that we can, and we must change the trajectory for black boys. And on top of that, though, I look at the foundation community. There's a movement now of at least 5 different foundations that are calling this out. How can they begin to better fund nonprofit school-based programs to meet the needs of black boys? You have community-based organizations that either have been in here for a while, East Oakland Youth Development Center, Youth Uprising, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, Youth Together, a host of them now that are being a little bit more forward-thinking and targeted on meeting the needs of black boys. So I think now, again, it's time for us to align and not operate in isolation. I just came back from a retreat this weekend where a group of about 20, 35 to 55-year-old brothers who are coming together, and these are brothers that are from politic to foundation to CEOs, just cover a wide cross-section of our community, are really coming together to form an alliance of that would then support rites of passage programs. And so I think there's a quiet storm happening in Oakland. I feel that that we're kind of seeing this big wave coming, and we're going to ride this wave to the point where our young black boys are exceeding and excelling like every other, or not every other, but our top students. And so, yeah, it's not a question of if. It's really just a question of when this will be truly manifested. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I'm ready for the charge. I mean, I tend to assess a school by their culture. And the schools that had very strong school culture, where from the front desk person to the custodial staff, to the teachers, the principals, the parents, and the kids, really felt a sense of strong community. Acorn Woodland and Compass Academy, Frick Middle School, and Hoover Elementary School in the West just are models here in the city for all of us to practice. And yet, in the community that they're in, we can kind of almost buy into the constant, if it's homicides or the robbery, all of the negative stuff, almost cast a shadow and makes us think that there's no actual learning, amazing things happening. But when you walk into these schools, it's a place where children take pride in, teachers take pride in, the system of inquiry from teacher to student, incredible. And that's at all 4 schools. And these are schools that we have to do a better job at kind of communicating. Wow, there's magic happening in these classrooms on these campuses, and it can't be overshadowed by the immediate community. And that's a role that we all have to play to kind of counter narrate what television, what media at sometimes will lead us to believe what's happening in these schools. But in actuality, there's amazing things happening. And so those are several schools that are doing incredibly well. And not to say the next school is struggling just through, when you look at education of our children as a health issue, West Oakland Middle School, extraordinary staff, folk who are going above and beyond the call of duty, but are limited in terms of what they have access to meet the individual needs of some of the kids that are struggling and are dealing with stuff that that we as grown men and grown women would be humbled by. And so that's a school community that through this position, we're going to be doing the Man Up Conference to really target all of the African American males, really all the males at the school will participate, but model when you put in place, have high expectations, put in place rituals and routines, our boys can and will meet those rituals and routines. So you can reach me at Christopher, CHRISTOPHER .Chatmon at OUSD, and correct me if I'm wrong here, OUSD.K12.ca.US. My cell phone number is 510-589-4658. My direct line is 510-879-4663. We will be convening the African American Task Force at some point in November. Although I don't have the dates yet, we'll begin that series of meetings in November. I encourage you, I welcome you to engage in this process. Our true and greatest strength is in our ability to support each other at every level, and every layer. Outside of that, this is not a one-person position. I mean, really, this is an opportunity for all of us to come together to change the present trajectory of black boys. And so if we see it as just a department's responsibility or an individual's responsibility, then yes, this won't work. But I feel it'll be through our collective efforts that change will come.
Thanks for joining us today on Inside OUSD and for taking the time to listen to our dialogue with the Executive Director of African American Male Achievement, Christopher Chatmon. If you like what Chris had to say, I encourage you to get in touch and see how you can work with him to partner and to create greater results for Oakland students. If you didn't appreciate what Chris had to say, you should still contact him because he's willing to engage the public in a debate. This is going to be a community solution to the problem we're facing, and we have to have input and opinion from all sides. So we encourage everyone in the community with a voice to reach out and let us know what we can do to strengthen results for African American males and for all students throughout OUSD.